Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and I, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing Chapter 7 of The Technician's Fight. Jeremy was happy the training uniform that had been made for him was so sturdy, because he was confident the violence with which he put it on would have ripped anything else. He had lost count of the times he'd caught sight of Gralgiran's friend glaring at him in the distance. Of course, he'd always seemed to do it when Jeremy was at his friend's and not in a position to chase after him and put an end to this. He hoped that his training would put him up against someone able to take a punch, because if he managed to connect, he was putting his anger he'd built into the hit. He scanned finding hunters until he located his trainer. "Come with me," she instructed once he reached her, and he followed out of the fight hall to another room where hunters were firing at targets moving in the distance. He was worried that she'd ask him to shoot people when he noticed that instead of blood, those hit lost chunks, which vanished before hitting the floor. A hunter fights with more than his claws and his mind, cub, she said. You must be able to fight when you are out of range of your enemy. She opened the cabinet. This is where these come in. There was a familiarity to the weapons that felt jarring. While the detail varies, the general shape were close enough to guns and rifles he'd seen in movies. He wondered, if they all came from a singular manufacturer. Then he realized that with being so similar, there were probably limited ways weapons could be designed and maintain their efficiencies. It didn't matter how you curved a blade. If you wanted it to cut, the side that would hit the target needed to be sharp. If you wanted your gun to take down an opponent, it needed a power source, a way to generate the bolt and send it to the target in such a way that it was taken down. It also needed to be comfortable to use. And there, he noticed a detail no movie gun matched. The lack of a trigger. I thought Kelsirians didn't do standard designs. He motioned to the 4 identical rifles. We do have print technology. These were designed by a variety of weaponsmiths. The design that suits our needs have been adopted and printed as required. She took a handheld one and handed it to him. The grip fit his hand, and where shooters would rest their fingers on the side of the weapon above the trigger in movies was an indentation for his, with a well at the end for the tip of his finger, for his claw. That was how the weapon was triggered. Normally, the grip of the weapon would be keyed to your palm print while on the ship. But because of your glove, the one you will... Why would be on the ship? Would be keyed to your palm print. But because of your glove, the one you will train with... Oh, I remember why I put that in, because in the field hunters would also be wearing gloves, but not needed. But because of your gloves, the one you will train with needs to be keyed to proximity, same as hunters who are in the field. It means that you cannot allow someone to put your glove on and get hold of your weapon. Wouldn't a scan of my body be more effective? I expect that if we are not using that, there is a reason. How small could a scanner get? They were handheld, but could those process the level of information needed to identify someone? The one in his weight machine was the size of his tablet, but its processing was centralized, and it was powered by the ship the same way the machine itself was. Cub? Sorry, trying to work through a problem as I don't have all the data on. Ah, what? He asked suspiciously. Ha, you will be one of those, she replied neutrally. I shouldn't be surprised. One of those what? One of those hunters who ends up not belonging on the front line, but in a lab, making everyone but your beta's life easier. He almost protested, then realized she was right. He'd always be thinking of problems he encountered and ways around them, and it didn't make him less of a hunter, just one with a specialty. And he was surprised at how much he cared about being recognized as a hunter. Always needs to be the best. You know what? That will be utilized because it's a memory. Always needs to be the best, Baronet often complained when he didn't know Jeremy was in earshot. It was part of what had led to him being picked by Dr. Manuel in the end, something to focus on instead of the pervasive discomfort that had been with him the entire time through university. So I just point and shoot. He lined up a shot for the target area, only for his hand to be painfully forced down. Do not point your weapon at anyone you don't intend to kill. This isn't a ballad where you get to run around, fire without thought, and the editors make sure only the proper targets are hit. The chastising lost some of his effect at that image. So you have those kind of stories too. Her expression was not pleased. Yes, and they are the bane of those charged with training cubs to become hunters. Like you. Except I expected my cub to be mature about the weapons he was handed. His ears burned. Sorry. Remember this lesson and I will be satisfied. She led him to a partition and keyed in information. In the distance, a Tahornian appeared. Is it just going to stand there and let me shoot it? As you don't have any training, I don't expect it will need to move to survive you. He stared at her. He'd seen enough movies to know how this went. It wasn't like back when they used chemical propellant. There was no kick to using these. He glanced at the target, lined up his shot, looked at her, and tensed his finger for the claw to extend. And nothing happened. He looked at the target and did it again. And it didn't again. She didn't smirk or twitch an ear when he looked at her again. When he looked at her. You forced my arm down. I thought that meant the safety was off. I will force a carb's arm down, even if the weapon they use is a facsimile. It is something that needs to be learned for not just when your weapon is live, but for all conditions. Your weapon could have a fault that prevents it from shutting down properly. Carelessness leads to the death of your allies instead of your enemies. You should not be the reason a hunter enters the forest, that it be their appointed time or not. He looked away. Sorry. Learn the lesson, and I will be satisfied. You are a cub. I do not expect you to know everything, but you are older, so I expect not to have to teach the same lesson twice. You won't. Good. She showed him the one she held, finger also in the trigger well. She took it out under the well, closer to you. Curl your finger until it fits comfortably. Extend your claw. There will be resistance. Push through. Then your weapon will be active. It will remain so until you deactivate it or it moves out of range. He didn't feel anything where the tip of the finger rested, but looking at it, he saw the hole his claw would go in. He tensed, and the claw extended. The glove returned tactile information he'd learned to interpret as his claws not being able to fully extend, such as if his fingertip pressed against a tabletop. He tensed it harder, and the sensation changed. To go with it, a dot turned blue on the side of the trigger well. Instead of being cocky, he kept his eyes on the target as he lined the shot. Tensing his finger caused the weapon to twitch, and he missed. That was easily remedied. He missed again, and again. He ground his teeth. This shouldn't be so hard. It was just pointing and triggering. After that, it was about accounting for the discrepancy between the notch at the end of the barrel he used to line the shot and where he hit. With a snarl, he fired until the blue light turned yellow, then red, and nothing happened when he triggered it. "Did you get all that out of your system?" she asked, and he glared at her. "How about you let me change what the target looks like?" He could think of one person that would motivate him to hit right now. "No, this is not a place to enact vendettas. If you have a problem with another hunter, meet them on the mat." "He's not a hunter," Jeremy grumbled. "Then talk with him." She took out a cartridge from a pocket. "Charge pack." She turned her weapon to the side, pressed a claw in another well, and a same pack pushed out at the back of the grip. She took it, put the other one in, and lined a shot she didn't take. "Now you." She handed him the pack. There was more resistance than he expected, as if the tip of his claws was what pushed the pack out. It was an interesting safety to ensure the pack wasn't taken out by accident, but in the middle of a firefight, he could see that being a problem. When he had it in, she handed him another pack. Again. 7 times she had him do it before motioning to the target, still standing. "Leave your emotions out of it," she instructed. "Only bad thing comes from anger," he said, reciting a line from one of the comedies he'd enjoyed with his friends back on Einstein. "No, anger has its place, but when you need to think, to aim, it will interfere." Right, she couldn't get the reference. He controlled his breathing, lined the shot, and kept his hand relaxed as he flexed his fingers and triggered the weapon. A chunk of the Terhornian vanished out of its chest, and he fired again. Another chunk, and he fired again, and again, this time imagining molten brown, whites, and black, that glare just before he ran off. "There," he said, grinning when the light turned red and only the lower body was left. "Maybe anger does have its place with you at range. Just who do you hate that much?" Thurok said, and Jeremy spun in surprise. "No one," he hurried to say, and the look both gave him said he had better come up with something good unless he was willing to tell them about his stalker. "The humans got my dad to come here and they're going to use him against me?" Thurok winced. "I see," his instructor said. "Then it might be best if we resume this once you have processed the event." "No, I'm fine," he protested. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Cub, you hurt. What you did there makes that plain. Family shouldn't be used against you, but not everything is as the god wish." He wanted to ask how things could go against what the gods wanted, but she was looking at Thurok. "If your training is done, why don't you take Cub with you to change?" Before Jeremy could protest again, she walked away. Thurok took the weapon from him, returning it to the cabinet, then led him back to the locker room. "I'm sorry your father's being used against you like that." To be honest, I doubt it took a lot of convincing on their part for him to do this. The way I remember things, he, more than my mom, didn't take well that I was drawing naked men. She sort of went along. I remember her looking scared. For me, I think. I remember angry tones, accusatory one, like I was guilty of something. "A bond between parents and child should be stronger than that," Turk said. "It is a gift the gods grant us, and we must cherish them for it." "When are the gods going to gift you near Lakasar with one?" "Oh, they already have. 3 times. Jimmy stared. "What? How come this is the first time I've heard of this?" The look his friend gave him was bashful. "You weren't exactly comfortable with our how sexual we are, and our oldest, Tinny, he was entering that stage where everything for him is about sex." "I've been here for well over a year now. There was plenty of time to introduce me since." "Not unless you are interested in explaining with demonstrations the way Earthers and Kelsirians are different sexually to him." "He's still in that phase?" Thurok sighed. "We are despairing of him ever leaving it. We have no idea where he gets all that sexual energy or interest." A hunter at another locker snorted, and Thurok glared at her. Jeremy didn't comment, but with how often he'd seen his friend sneak off with someone, he figured this was a case of son taking very well after his father. "Technician Jeremy Bradshaw." Neil Akassar greeted him adding a hug. It is a pleasure to see you again. I think that technically it's Cub, Jeremy Bradshaw right now, hunter training and all that. I hope you don't mind. I talked him into coming here. Thurk said, rubbing muzzle with her. After how he decimated the target he was practicing on, I figured he needed to relax. You didn't have anyone scheduled, and I know he likes your massage. I am going to see if Gralgiran is available. You don't have to make time for me, Jeremy protested. I'll be happy with any other masseuse. Masseuse. She replied, but he didn't hear it, noticing molted black, brown, and white fur further within the shop. He'd been on alert for him to show up the entire walk here, and the bastard had gotten here ahead of him. Got naked and clearly comfortable with the guy next to the table. And okay, he was reaching. Why would Tomeri Mortoral bother undressing if this was about ambushing him with more glaring, which he wasn't doing right now. He wasn't even looking in his direction. The guy's attention was entirely on the other one, and he was getting hard. And, okay, he was bigger than Gralgiran. Was he bigger than Gralgiran? Almost certainly longer. And considering how his heart reacted to Jeremy's head, you could see how he might have enjoyed time in the bed with that guy. And he so didn't need that image right now. Certainly didn't need his body reacting to what he was unwillingly imagining when he was about to get naked in front of Thurok's mate, Technician Jeremy Bradshaw. She called to him, motioning to the table next to the table. I'm going to need a minute or more if he couldn't get his mind to stop imagining his heart with this talker going at it. His face burned, caught fire when she looked around him and smiled. He is rather fletching. I'm with someone, he replied, despairing that any of his friends would stop teasing him about other guys. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy what you see or imagine the possibilities. You aren't helping, he grumbled in his hand. She chuckled, and the air between the two of them and the other became opaque. Undress. You won't be the first aroused male I've had on one of my tables. Relaxing your body will cause that to also relax. She had to encourage him again when it came time to remove his pants. Then she had him on his stomach on the table. So, he said, to give himself something other than those two to think about. Thurk mentioned something about your oldest discovering sex. She groaned. I swear, the god took my mate and copied him into our son. He chuckled. It seemed like at least one of the parents knew where their son got it from. No. Alex glared at him. Come on! I don't care that we're at the station. You have got to have something for me to do. Do you have any idea how boring it is? With everyone else able to wander off there and me being stuck here? I'm sorry, Jeremy, but you can't, I can't have you work. You shouldn't be on the ship. I know why, so no need to explain it to me. But it means you can be called at any moment to present yourself. I can't have that happen while you're in the middle of a task. Take the time to work on one of your projects. I don't want to work on my projects. I have to be at home for that, alone for that. Gral's out there fighting for me and I'm stuck here not doing anything. Please, be a friend and just give me a board to watch. As your friend, I don't have the authority to allow you there. And as the engineer, I can't afford the possible disruption your sudden departure might cause. He placed a hand on Jeremy's arm and squeezed. Just relax, Jeremy. Soon you will be called to fight for yourself before those who want to take you from us. Rest. Make sure you have the energy to stand up to them. Jeremy headed away. He couldn't rest. He needed to burn any. He had too much energy to burn off. This fight was about him, for him. He should be involved. Instead, he had nothing to do but simmer in anger. Okay, this I'm all going to change immediately. He had it for the leisure, and I'm changing it because I ended it there because I was out of time, and I wanted to conclude the chapter. And I need Jeremy to be in one of the gyms. And discussing things over the weekend with my co-scripter made me realize that not only was it a very, very sudden switch in mindset, but that the way I want things to happen, I need Jeremy. The section with Jeremy, I can't switch to Graal right now because the next Graal chapter starts with him on the station dealing with the humans for all that. And before that happens, I need Jeremy in the actual in the gym, noticing Tom there, glaring at him, and finally cornering him. And I need the argument, the discussion slash argument, to evolve to the point of what will happen when the humans demand to see Jeremy. So yeah, so I need to add possibly another chapter, or if it's short enough, tack in onto this. But yeah, so I'm starting it. I'm sending him to his weight machine instead. Alrighty, so this concludes chapter 7 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. And if you are looking to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.